Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be covering something that I don't think I've seen other people talk about, but I feel is really important, especially for people who are new to collecting manga. And that is going to be trim size. You probably hear people talk about in their videos, I know I have, where I mentioned like, oh, here's a oversized trim, here's a standard trim, etc. And as someone who, maybe someone is just getting into collecting manga, they don't know what that means. I'm going to be going over the various sizes of trims that there are, the standards in what is available now through publishers that are currently active. I personally own a few volumes from defunct publishers, but I will not be covering those since those volumes are not necessarily something that someone who's just getting into the hobby would be readily looking for. So we're going to start off with hardcovers, since that is what I own the least of. I personally do not own any of the oversized trim hardcovers, such as those that, and I'm so sorry if you hear grass cutting in the background, but I do not personally own any of the oversized hardcover editions, such as the Berserk Deluxe or the Hellsing Deluxe editions put out by Dark Horse. So unfortunately I will not be able to provide any information on that. If I am able to locate dimensions online, I will have them right here in like a little box so that you guys can see. And I mostly am going over these dimensions so that people who maybe they want to double stack their volumes, such as I personally double stack my volumes, just so that I can maximize shelf space, or if they're trying to get risers built or made for their personal collection for their shelves. So we're going to go over a standard hardcover size, and I have two volumes here, and that is going to be Saint Youngman and The Girl from the Other Side, Sudoru. Let me adjust the camera here, we'll go over that. And these are fairly similar to standard large trim editions that I'll be going over next. These volumes, I'm not going to go over the width of the volumes, just because that can, that varies from volume to volume, no matter if you're doing hardcover, softcover, what have you. So these hardcovers typically go at about 6 inches across, 6-inch width, with an 8.5 inch height. You cannot double stack these. I personally use the standard Target shelves, and on those you cannot stack them like this and have the entirety of both books stay on the shelf. But that is going to be the standard hardcover editions. Is going to be a 6 by 8.5 inches. I'm so sorry, I do not do centimeters. I'm a filthy American with my measurements, so everything that we go over here will be in inches. But that's going to be the hardcover standard editions. Again, I don't have any of the oversized like Dark Horse editions or anything in that same vein, but those would be much larger than these. Next, we're going to be going over what is called a large trim, and that is going to be something like your Viz Signature Edition. These volumes run about 5 7/8 to 8 1/4 inch. And like I said, that's pretty similar in width to the standard hardcovers, just a little bit smaller. But we are going to see that size available from Viz in the Signature Edition. Kodansha has a large trim as well as Square Enix, Yen Press, and 7 Seas. 7 Seas tends to run a little bit wider than other volumes. So instead of being 5 7/8, they're going to be pretty much the same width as the hardcover standard editions at about 6 inches or just under 6 inches. These are also, if you're using the standard Target shelf, they cannot be double stacked without a portion of the edge coming off of the side of the shelf. That's not a big deal killer for a lot of people, but I do know, like, I personally don't really care for when edges are coming off of shelves. That's going to be these large trim editions from all of the active publishers that I currently have. Then we're going to be moving into what is considered standard edition for the trim size. And first up is going to be the largest of the standard editions, and that is going to be anything out of Vertical. So Vertical and Kodansha are basically married now. They're the same company, but this was published, Kino's Journey was published when Vertical was itself. So you'll see published by Vertical Comics here. And these editions come at about 5.5 inch across by 7.5 inch height. The newer Vertical releases do have the Kodansha label on the side. However, if you open up to the back, you will see it says a Vertical book. And these volumes you can expect to be the same size as the initial the original Vertical releases. Then next up we have the more standard trims. This is going to be 5 to 5 1/16 depending on how well the paper was trimmed. So it's not too big of a difference, but I do know some people like to know if there is going to be any discrepancies between volumes. And that is going to be a 5 by 5 5 inch, and that is available from Yen Press, Tokyo Pop, and Viz. These volumes, you can double stack them on a shelf and have no overhang. The Vertical ones, at least for the standard Target shelf that I use, do come up to the very edge of the shelf, while the Viz ones have a little bit more space between the shelf and the spine of the book. And then we get to the smallest edition for manga trim, and that's going to be the standard size that Titan Manga, new player in the game, Titan Manga, Sublime, and 7 Seas all use this sizing, and that is going to be a 5 to 5 1/16 width, but the height is going to be 7 1/8 inches instead of the 7.5 inches we see with other standard volumes. This is why if you look at my shelf, which I will be going over, I will be making a collection video sometime in early 2023, you'll see that my shelf is mostly kind of sorted by vibes. Like nothing is really like next to anything else, just because it is like I prefer to have spines that match next to each other height-wise versus like putting fully alphabetical or what have you, something like that. But that is going to be it for manga trim sizes. If you get into light novels, it gets kind of messy, I've realized. I was going to include light novels here, at least for what I own. I own from light novels from Yen On, 7 Seas, their Danmei, as well as their Airship line. But I hope you enjoyed this short little video. This is just something I wanted to go over since it's not something I've really seen other people talk about, and I personally find it very interesting. And I know some people talk about how, oh, I wish we were like Japanese publishers, they're all the same size. While in actuality, Japanese publications also have quite a range of sizes between them. You'll see here, I just grabbed 2 miscellaneous volumes off my shelf. I have the Japanese volume 1 for Fullmetal Alchemist, as well as the volume 1 for Delicious in Dungeon. And even this, you'll see there's a difference in height, there's a difference in width. So, but as you can also see, these editions are much smaller than what we have in English. English publications tend to use fairly large trim sizes when compared to the initial Japanese release. I haven't measured these, but you can see with my tiny little baby hands, I can actually hold these pretty well. And that's because the collector culture in Japan is quite different than what we see in the West. Also, Japanese apartments tend to be quite a bit smaller than what we have available to us. So that may also be part of why these books are so small. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to hear more about maybe trim sizes of light novels, if you want me to go over maybe some of the defunct publications that I have in my collection and their trim sizes, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button. And if anything, I'll see you guys in the next video.